everyone and welcome back to a new video. So a few days ago I made a video on Colleen Ballinger's first book written by her alter ego character Miranda Sings. This book was self-help, and I mentioned in that video that Miranda/Colleen had a second book that I might cover in the future. I wasn't expecting to make this video so quickly, but literally last night I decided to have a flick through her second book just to get some ideas, and I don't want to sound dramatic here, but I saw something in particular that really, disturbed me. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make this video. I'm gonna be honest, even this morning, I'm still feeling kind of sick about it, and I can't really get it out of my head. And I have been speaking to Elise, and I've been speaking to my partner. I'm like, am I overreacting about this? Am I just blowing things out of proportion? But it just, I don't know, I feel like I've seen something wrong that I shouldn't have, and that I should be telling someone about this. Normally I save the worst parts of a book that I'm reviewing like this to the end of the video because, you know, keep you guys watching. But in this case I'm going to start with it because this bothered me so much. I just think people need to be aware of it. So even if you don't watch much of this video, just watch the first 5 minutes, yeah? Some very basic facts about this book. This book is titled My Diarrhe, but the way it's spelled is a play on diarrhea, so poop jokes from the first page. Classy. This is a series of fictional diaries from the character Miranda, starting with a baby book that she's then written over and continuing through her entire childhood and culminating in her as an adult who's actually famous and successful and blah blah blah. This book was published in 2018, so it came out just after her Netflix series, and I think it's kind of mostly aimed at fans of that, to be honest. The humour in it is toned down a lot from the first book, but where Colleen manages to shine through is where it's really bad. There are some bits that are actually quite biographical of Colleen and her career and that sort of thing, especially later in the book, so that's also where it's different to the first book. The other big difference between this book and the first one is that this book is published just by Simon & Schuster and the imprint Gallery. Their children's imprint wasn't involved in this one, so at least they learnt their lesson there. Also, minor complaint here. What is with the handful of people in that first video who are like, I don't believe it was published by Simon & Schuster Children's. Like, that's just not true, you're making this up. And I'm like, it's right there on the Amazon page. I'm linking you to the Amazon page. I'm showing you a screenshot of the Amazon page that says publisher, Simon & Schuster Children's. Do you think this is some big conspiracy between me and Amazon where we've cooked up a lie so I can make a couple of £100 on YouTube? Is that what you're getting at? Very bizarre. But regardless, even though this wasn't published by a children's publisher and nothing about it specifically says for children, it was definitely quite a tie-in with the Netflix show. The Netflix show is mentioned a lot. The Netflix show was listed and marketed as being for children, so clearly this book is going to appeal to children. In it, Colleen makes it very clear she knows her audience is children and teens. There are so many children and teens in this book, and pictures of fans of hers, fan art done by fans, comments from fans, most of whom are children, so she's very aware of who her audience is. So even if this was only published by Simon & Schuster, it's still very clear she knew children are going to be reading this book, which makes so much of it very inappropriate, as always. Here's my main issue with the book though, and this is what makes me feel gross for even having seen it. So the first chapter of this book is Miranda's baby book, and this features a crap ton of genuine baby photos of probably Colleen, could be other kids, who knows, they all look the same at that age, and there's photos and photos and photos and photos, right? So many, including some of her as a baby. And you also need to be aware that there's a running joke throughout this book of Miranda pulling her trousers up so high you can see her bum crack and you can see her vagina in the front, like camel toes sort of thing, but I don't like that phrase. You can see her vagina. There's even lots of close-ups of this in Colleen's first book and the second book, and she also features a ton of fan art in this book done by children and a couple of adults, which emphasise her vagina. There's a big push on, haha, look at my vagina, right? That's the joke. In the baby book section, she wants to act like this is something she's done her entire life. So in the first few pages of this book, and I can't believe I'm actually saying these words, she photoshops a vagina onto the pink pants of a baby. And then she draws a giant arrow to it. I honestly felt kind of sick upon seeing this. I don't want to look at it. Why would anyone want to draw attention to a child, never mind a baby's genitals, for fun? Why would you Photoshop this in there? Who took the time to actually Photoshop this? Who saw this and thought, yeah, that's a funny joke, pointing out a baby vagina? I am going to censor this in this video because honestly, I find the image quite disgusting and disturbing, and it feels like something I shouldn't be seeing, never mind showing to other people. But if you do want to go see it for yourself and see what I'm talking about, you can actually go download a sample of this book from Amazon now on Kindle, and it's in the first couple of pages on there. It's part of the free sample. I went and checked. So if you want to see this for yourself, go ahead. Oh my god, that was... I just got a Kindle notification of what to read next after self-help. No thank you. Sorry, inappropriate time for a joke there. But then she captions this image, "Really, Mum, taking pictures of me with no pants on. How am I supposed to sell my merch if I'm not wearing my red sweatpants?" Yeah, that's not the problem with this photo at all. You have a kid there in her underwear and you photoshopped a vagina onto it. Although, let's give Colleen the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she didn't Photoshop a vagina onto this. Maybe this is just a very random, unnatural crease in the fabric of the baby's underwear that just happens to look like a vagina. Why would you leave that in there and draw a giant arrow to it and draw attention to it? Either way, it's terrible and bad and disgusting. I am kind of disgusted that Colleen would make this and that the publishing house approved this. I think this is perhaps one of the worst things she's ever done. Even if it is herself as a baby, you can't go around publishing images, drawing people's attention to babies' genitals like this, just for a joke. You know there are going to be people who misuse this and get off on it, and it really makes me question her judgment and everything about her. And with all the allegations around her at the minute of being inappropriate with kids and teenagers, crossing boundaries, using them for free labour, being bitchy about them, the inappropriate group chats, her asking kids and teens about their period, about their sex life, about all these really inappropriate things, for her then to Photoshop a vagina onto a baby and publish it is like, why? I don't know, maybe I'm overreacting about this, but am I? Like, can you really overreact when it comes to the safety of kids and children and babies and not sexualizing babies? Is it too much to ask that people don't sexualize babies? I don't. It bothers me. So that's the worst thing about this book. That's why I wanted to make this video. The rest of it is honestly not as bad in comparison, and there's not as much bad about this book as there is in the first one. I think maybe because her audience got more mainstream with the Netflix show that she maybe didn't, or maybe her publishers didn't feel like she could get away with as much. So in some ways it's toned down from the first book, in other ways it's even worse. But there's not quite as much of that. Does that make sense? So let's just look at a few other things. While talking about her child self, she interchangeably uses the word lick and like to create sexual jokes about the child, yeah? So there's this weird page about her as a child eating snails. I don't get it at all. Maybe it's just not my humour, but okay. And then modern day Miranda has scribbled over this and said, "She didn't mention my favourite now. I lick meat and cheese balls." How many times do we have to ask Colleen to stop sexualising children, both real and fictional? This is followed by an entire page where there's just a photo of a toilet with floating feces in it. Again, I'm going to censor the poop because no one needs to see this, but this is disgusting. This is a mess. Why would you publish this? This isn't funny. This isn't humorous. No. Now, remember in the last video on the first book where there was a constant, where there were the constant animal abuse jokes about cats, right? This book continues that, but worse and more, and it expands how many animals she abuses, because apparently animal abuse is funny. Remember also in that last video that I showed the clip of real life Colleen making jokes about how she hurt her dog as a kid so much that it bit her and had to be put down, right? So this isn't just fictional, she's actually hurt animals too. Bear all that in mind as we read. This book has a page in which she tells us she had a snake that she set free by flushing him down a toilet. A few pages later, we move on to chapter 2, which opens with a letter from school saying that they've had to kick Miranda out of school because she accidentally flushed the class hamster down the toilet and urinated on the magic reading carpet for a week because she didn't want the hamster to steal her pee. Adult Miranda then comes in and corrects this and says it was not an accident, so implying she killed the hamster on purpose. Again, why are Colleen's go-to jokes animal abuse and toilet humour? A few pages later, on her homeschooling work, like there's these fake worksheets and stuff, Miranda says that she is choking a cat. Yeah, that's funny. She then follows this up by calling her mum a pervert because she says she loves her. And then later there is a page about playing with a dead bird and putting it under her mum's bed. This is followed up by more slightly weird sexualizing of real, actual kids. Like, here's a photo of Miranda and some random children, and all the censoring of children's faces in this book is done by me, by the way. Not Colleen. Not at all. This one has some photos of kids with their tops off, and it says, "These boys want to be with me so bad, they can't even keep their shirts on." These are real children. Is that necessary? You're an adult woman, and even if you are writing as a child, like, you don't need to sexualize children like that. Especially not real children, right? Next up, we're back to creepy uncle jokes, and this is about how he said she has to look like a model, so he put pretty lipstick on me, just like the models do, and gave me a fancy fur coat. That wouldn't be so creepy on its own. Lots of kids play dress up, but with all the rape jokes from the last joke, like the cuddling uncle photo and the daddy's saddle uncle shed thing and all of that, this just is dodgy as hell. And of course this is followed up again with lots of stories of him taking pictures of her and, you know, more generic creepy uncle jokes, which I don't find funny. So Alizé also made a video on the first book, which is, you haven't seen, go and check out because she's brilliant. And we spent a lot of time talking about these books as she was making the video, and she was like, but as British people, we like, her words, we make fun of nonsense all the time, right? I'm like, yeah, but people like Jimmy Savile and Prince Andrew and whatever, like, yeah, we take the mick out of them. But there's the difference. We take the mick out of them. We realise that what they've done to kids is wrong and disgusting, and we don't respect them for that. We take the mick out of them. We rip them to shreds for it. The joke is, ha, you're a disgusting piece of crap. Let's show you that. That's the joke there. Colleen's joke is, ha ha ha, a child got molested. That's not funny. Making a child molester feel like crap, yeah, that's funny. Molesting a child, not funny. Colleen doesn't understand this difference, and that's a huge problem. If your punchline is, lol, kid didn't know she got molested, or lol, kid got molested, there's something wrong with you. And then in the book there's this page about bad words, which is a bit ridiculous, but whatever. But what surprised me was the Tukey cat thing, right? So in the last video there was a thing about like putting a nappy on a baby. I know, I can't believe I'm saying this. And it had a phrase that was something like, put the towel under the Tukey, right? And then later on it had like an arrow pointing to a picture of Colleen or one of her friends or something, and it said Tukey. So I googled it and it told me that meant bum. And I'm like, okay, cool. But apparently, what I've gathered from this book and also the comments you guys left on that last video is that Colleen uses the word Tukey to mean vagina. Which means in the last book, she was talking about babies' vaginas again. Great. That means here she's talking about vaginas. Every time she says that, she's talking vagina, vagina, vagina. Which, is that appropriate in a children's book? Is it appropriate in a children's book to have a picture of grown adults and point out their vaginas to children? Is it appropriate to point out the vaginas of children? Is it appropriate to keep talking directly to children about vaginas in a non-educational way? This chapter then ends with child Miranda starting her period, and that's how the next one starts too. It's just written a bit graphically and gross, and honestly it sort of stigmatizes periods and puberty, and like I say, I have mixed feelings on this one because on the one hand this wasn't published by a kid's imprint like the last book, but also we know her audience is already full of kids. She knows kids are going to be buying this. From the reviews, we know kids did read this book. Like, look at this one from an 11-year-old saying that, you know, it brings back memories of being 11. I recommend every 11-year-old read this. But no, I don't. If you're 11, stay away from this book. If you're a parent of an 11-year-old, keep them away from this book. So, because we know her audience is full of kids, I don't find this appropriate. Sure, we should destigmatize periods and menstruation and puberty and, you know, people growing up. That's fine. Talk to kids about it in an educational way. You can be humorous with that. You can be real with that. You can teach them about it. But there's an appropriate way to do that and a really, really inappropriate way. And this is the inappropriate way. This is followed by her saying that wearing her uncle's sweatpants feel good in all the creases, which is a phrase that makes me want to puke. And again, this ties back to the whole, like, trousers pulled up, vagina showing joke that led to the baby vagina Photoshop. This page also has more gross poop jokes, and also, this is odd. I think it's meant to be an attempt at an orgasm joke about a person playing her dad. Like, I don't get this. I'm not familiar with Annie. I love my musicals, but that's one that I have not seen since I was like 7 years old, so I do not remember it at all. But basically, she says that this kid was playing her dad in a play, and she had to do a romantic scene with him, and that led to her having what I think she's trying to describe as like weird orgasm feelings. I'm confused, I'm a little disturbed. I think it's meant to be an attempt at another creepy incest joke whilst also sexualizing children. Yeah, can we just not? The next section is from 2009 onwards, and it's basically just Colleen bragging about a bunch of famous people she knows and a bunch of shows she did as Miranda, but pretending they're jokes. This includes more porn jokes where she poses with half-naked men. Again, if you know kids are going to be reading this, why would you... Why? Colleen Ballinger really does only have 4 jokes that she recycles over and over. Joke 1, hurting animals. Joke 2, poop. Joke 3, sexualizing kids and shouting porn at every opportunity. And joke 3, child abuse. All terrible jokes aside, this is the stuff which fans of Colleen and Miranda might actually be interested in, except it literally just lists stuff she did and people she met, and then it has some photos and bad jokes. There's nothing actually like insightful here or new or particularly interesting. Like, I think a lot of people read celebrity biographies to get that like behind the scenes view, you know, understand what were you thinking, what were the difficulties, what challenges did you overcome. None of that is in this book. It's literally just, and then I met this person, and oh my god, I think they're my boyfriend now. And then I met this person, and oh my god, I think they're my boyfriend now. And then I met this person, and oh my god, they're such a bitch. Haha, just kidding. And then I did this show, and then this show, and then this show, and then this show, and then this, like, that's it. That is all the information we get, and it gets very old very quickly. Maybe this didn't appeal to me because I'm just not a fan of Miranda and Colleen, but I feel like if it's a well-written, you know, biography, then you can enjoy it even without really knowing who the person is, you know? That's the conflicting thing about this particular book. It only has 2 notes. Disgusting as hell and boring as hell, and there's no in-between. It's like 200 pages long, this book, and honestly I struggled to get through it even the first time, never mind the rereads for this video, because it really drags and it's really dull, especially in the second half. Then there's a bunch more jokes about Miranda thinking she's dating or going to date openly gay men, so that's fun. As a few commenters pointed out on the last video, some people think this is like weirdly fetishizing gay men and bisexual men, or some people thought it was kind of like slightly homophobic because she was making the joke of they just need the right woman to change them. And here's another thing that was kind of brought up in the comments of the last video, right? So remember that page in the first book where there's like something like, these are the qualities to look for in a man or a boyfriend or whatever, right? And it had a bunch of photos of men. And I said I didn't really recognize any of them except Shane Dawson. Well, you guys being geniuses pointed out who most of them are, and it's people like Tyler Oakley and Joey Graceffa, who I have heard his name before because of the you-know-who drama. I just didn't recognize him because I think I have some sort of weird face blindness. Anyway, so a bunch of you helped identify them, and a lot of you pointed out that to the best of your knowledge, these are all gay and bisexual men. And that's apparently the joke here, right? Qualities are gay men. Okay, stupid joke, fine, move on. Except, I did some Googling, and Shane Dawson didn't come out as bisexual until July 2015, the exact same month that Colleen Ballinger's first book was published. That means that if this is true, and her joke was, lol, gay and bisexual men, her book was written when Shane wasn't even out. And if Shane hadn't decided to come out at the exact moment this book was published, she could have potentially outed him to millions of people for a stupid joke before he was ready. That bothers me, and it makes me ask questions like, did Shane feel forced to come out because of stuff like this? Was it like known inside the YouTuber community that Shane was bi already, and then some people kind of used it against him? Like, what, did he approve this joke before it was published or not? Like, it makes me worry and it makes me uncomfortable. As much as I dislike Shane Dawson and the things he's done, no one deserves to be outed before they're ready. And I'm not saying that's what Colleen did, but the timings are a little suspect and it bothers me. The book then moves on to make more and more penis jokes. Whatever, we're used to it by now, as inappropriate as it is. And then there's this whole section about Miranda's fans / Colleens fans, and this opens with a photo of her holding a child upside down. Why are there so many photos of children in this book? Why is there such a focus on children in this book if Miranda's audience isn't children? She's PG-13. These kids are not 13. This is like an actual small toddler thing. Maybe not toddler, I don't know ages. But like what? He's like 5, 6 or something? She's clearly very, very aware of who her audience is. She's met a lot of them. She's posed for photos with a lot of them. She's got the letters and the artwork from a lot of them. So why is she in denial that her audience is so full of children? And why does she keep making content that is inappropriate for children when she knows children are going to consume it? At this point, she's either staying willfully ignorant or she just doesn't care about the consequences of her actions and how it affects real children. She doesn't care. The next section then includes fan mail letters she got from children and teens. Like, some of their ages are listed as like 14 and whatever. I'm not sure if these are real or not, but she clearly knows her audience is stupidly young, because if they're real, then this is a 14-year-old writing to her. If they're fake, then she knows 14-year-olds write to her, and so she put it in the letter. These letters have then been annotated by Colleen / Miranda, and for example, this one has a note about how a fan should become an orphan because their parents hate Colleen's videos. Then there's a bunch of fan art from, again, literal children. There's like 2 people in here are 25 and 26, and the rest are like a 2-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and so on. Here you have a bunch of people drawing stuff emphasising Colleen / Miranda's vagina, and Miranda / Colleen pointing it out, and the whole joke being, look, I have a vagina. Hey children, look at my vagina. Vagina's here. Children, children, vagina. That's the joke, that's the humour. So 2 of these are done by adults, but then this one, you have a 6-year-old who drew in the vagina crack. God's sake. Technically, the outside is the vulva. Anyway, not the point. She drew it all in, and then Colleen annotated this with the question, is this a front, a butt, or a worm? Then there's a whole page of photos of fans posing with Miranda, and again, most of these are really, really young. Really young. And I have to ask, did she get permission to put all these in the book? Or, I don't know. Like, are these people going to grow up and regret this? Are they going to have issues with it? Like, especially now. Then there's stuff about her winning a Teen Choice Award. She knows her audience is full of teenagers. She knows. She has always known who her audience is, and there is no excuse. And this page was interesting because this has a mention of someone called Corey. And again, I'm terrible with knowing who people are, and everything is like, and recognizing people and all that stuff. Is this the Corey that's been involved in all the drama recently and who like covered for her in the past and screwed over Adam McIntyre and was also creepy with kids? Is this that same Corey, or is this a different person? And then there's this page which is just aged so badly. Like, yeah, sure, people like Jake Paul and Logan Paul suck, because that's clearly who she was referring to. And yeah, they did give YouTubers a really bad name for a while. But also, so are you. You're not better than them. You've done the same crap that they've done. You've exploited children like they have. You know, they're not making you look bad. You're making you look bad. You're all ignorant. You all exploit kids. You're all inappropriate with a young audience. You're all, like, producing overly sexualized content for children. You're all teaching kids to be irresponsible and stupid. Like, so much stuff in this book and the last book is about Miranda as a kid playing with knives and fire and all that sort of thing. And, like, yeah, when you have kids reading it, that is gonna encourage irresponsible and dangerous behaviour in them, just like Jake Paul's stunts and pranks and crap like that, right? You're all bad influences on kids. Don't pretend you're better than them. So that aged badly. And then, that's it. That's the end of the book. So, overall, there were a few more bits in this book that I haven't spoken about, but a lot of them were the same issues that arose in the first book. So some of the inappropriate jokes, the sexualizing of Miranda's child self and other kids, like that sort of thing. It's all the same stuff that's in the first book that I had to complain about, so that's why I wanted this video to be shorter and just focus on the things that really bothered me, like the baby photo. It really messed me up. I don't know why more people aren't talking about that. Maybe people just haven't seen it. I looked through all the reviews for this book and there are not as many reviews on this book as the first one, so I feel like not as many people read it, not as many people are aware of it, but no one's pointing out the baby photo and it really bothers me. So, I don't know. But please let me know down in the comments if you think I am overreacting, or I don't know, am I overreacting? Am I blowing this out of proportion? Am I being too overprotective? I don't know. I really don't know. But I would like to hear your thoughts on this, especially from people who are not YouTubers themselves. I feel like sometimes with my job being what it is, I am maybe overly cautious of like the influence that I and others have on people, and I do tend to overthink things and be like, oh, but what are the audience going to say? What are the public going to say? What are people going to like learn from this and take away from this and everything? So maybe I'm overreacting, but I don't think I am. But I don't know. Sorry, I'm a little bit fuzzy brain today. I haven't been sleeping very well recently. Thank you for watching today. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for all the great feedback on the last video, and to everyone who's new here, hi, great to meet you. My name's Rachel. I make a lot of videos about book reviews and social commentary and all sorts of stuff like that. I cover a lot of feminist topics. I cover a lot of pro-LGBTQ+ projects. And I also cover certain things to do with like mental health awareness and other things. I'm an autistic woman myself, so I tend to talk about that and kind of have that perspective on things. But basically, I'm just big on equality and supporting others. I also just have a big passion for literature and poetry and the arts, but also things like science and history as well. So if you'd like to come on this journey with me, please subscribe. It's great to have you here. And yeah, thank you for watching today. Thank you for letting me do another Colleen video. This will be the last one now because she doesn't have any more books. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for dealing with me being a little bit grumpy and out of it today. But I appreciate you guys a lot, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!